Hey friends, welcome to the NP Authority Podcast. This podcast is designed for those who are experiencing the journey of a nurse practitioner. I'm Suni B, your host, and I am back with another episode. Whether you are an NP student, a new grad, or experienced, this podcast will grace you with helpful tips and encouragement as I share my own personal journey from NP student to private practice owner. Keep in mind that the business-related content or similar information within this podcast are for entertainment purposes only and does not replace legal or regulatory advice. Always verify requirements with your state board and professional advisors. Let's get into the episode. All right. So as you can see, I finally came up with a final or official name for the podcast, and I've been wondering which direction to go in with it and playing around with names and all of that. So the NP Authority kind of stuck, and here we are. So today we're going to be talking about 5 things that NP school doesn't teach you. And I felt like this is important because there are so many things that I've discovered as a new NP that were not talked about during my NP studies. And I just wanted to share some of the things that I have become aware of so that when you finish up school or what have you, that you're not like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Oh, wow, I didn't know that, because there are so many different things. But in essence, NP school teaches you how to pass boards, but it does not teach you how to survive practice. There are some things that they did equip me with that have translated into practice, such as some of the diagnostic codes and things like that, but they did not go into depth about a lot of things. So here are 5 things that truly matter your first year out. Number 1, you are the final decision maker. In NP school, you present it to your preceptor, or you present to your preceptor and kind of go through the patients that you're taking care of during your clinical rotation. But after you graduate and become licensed, you are the provider of record, meaning that you own the diagnosis, you own the prescribing decisions, you own the documentation, and you own the follow-up plan. And so you will want to make sure that you always document your differential diagnoses. In school, after some time, I understood why differential diagnoses were important, but I didn't realize that that is a key factor in your documentation. You want to rule out things before you just say, oh, this person has this or this person has that. Well, what else could it have possibly been, So you want to justify why you ruled those other things out. You also want to practice from a standpoint of, if this patient deteriorates, can I defend my decisions? So a pro tip is, when you're unsure, document your reasoning process very clearly. Medicine is defensible when your thinking is visible, and what I'm saying now kind of segues into our second point, which is documentation is legal protection, not just a note. In school, one of the things they really, really drilled, and I'm grateful for it now, was your SOAP note and how you document. It teaches you the SOAP format, the subjective, the objective, the assessment and plan, but it doesn't teach you so much about why those things are important. It's legal protection, it's liability protection as well. So your note should show risk assessment that you identified. It should show your clinical reasoning behind your decisions, patient education you provided, shared decision-making between you and the patient. Those things were kind of like sprinkled in, but it's really important to show that shared decision-making. And also red flag counseling that was discussed, the risks and benefits and all of that. And then clear follow-up instructions. A good survival habit to develop is end every plan with discussed risks and benefits, alternatives, and the patient verbalized understanding. All right, so number 3, boundaries. You want to learn to develop boundaries that will protect your license. Boundaries will protect your license. School doesn't prepare you for early refill requests. Sometimes people are going to come to you. Maybe they see a different provider, and maybe it's not time for their refill, or they're taking their medication incorrectly. But you're going to receive early refill requests sometimes. It doesn't prepare you for patients saying, the ER gave it to me before, or Dr. So-and-so gave it to me before. It also does not prepare you for antibiotic refill demands or antibiotics for viral infections. Sometimes there might be patients who request antibiotics, but they have the flu. They don't understand that antibiotics do not cure viral infections. Also, you might encounter pressure to prescribe benzodiazepines or narcotics or things like that. Personally, I don't deal with benzos or anything like that, but depending on the practice setting that you're going to be in when you finish school, you might have patients that pressure you to prescribe those. And you might also have family members who are speaking up for patients and demanding things for patients. Just like as an RN, I do remember sometimes in labor and delivery or wherever I was working, the patient's family might speak on their behalf, but they're not qualified to do that, or the patient can make their own decisions. So a good habit to develop is consistent prescribing policies. Where you're working, they're going to have those guidelines in place, but it is up to you as the provider to adhere to them. You also want to have controlled substance agreements, clear refill protocols, and be comfortable with saying no. As nurses, a lot of us, our nature is to help. We want to help patients and make things better, but in some instances, you're going to have to be comfortable or become comfortable with saying no to the patient. And if any of these situations arise where you're getting early refill requests, or a patient is pressuring you to prescribe them benzodiazepines or things like that, one of the most appropriate sentences or powerful sentences you can use is, "I'm sorry, but that would not be medically appropriate." Just calmly and firmly answer their question, or just tell them, "I'm not able to do that," and don't feel the need to apologize for it. Number 4, productivity pressure is real. What do I mean by that? As a practicing NP, you'll be evaluated on RVUs, patient visit counts, patient satisfaction scores, inbox response time. Nobody teaches you how to chart efficiently when you're in school, because a lot of times those preceptors didn't have time to go through the nooks and crannies of charting efficiently and pre-charting. They focus more on the clinical aspects. I know mine did, at least, focus more on that, making sure that you're going to be a safe practicing NP. So they gave me the basics, like the basic things to fill in, when I was seeing patients during my clinical rotation, but they didn't talk about, efficient charting and closing charts the same day, because it wasn't my responsibility to close the chart, right? It was the practicing NP's responsibility. So I got a little bit of experience with charting during my clinical rotations, but not a whole lot.
Hey friends, I hope your time with me has been pleasant so far. I just wanted to pause for a moment and thank you all for listening. If you don't mind, if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode with a friend. Remember to turn on notifications so that you will know when the next episode goes live. Additionally, check the description box for any free tools or helpful goodies I've shared that might help you along your NP journey. Alrighty, happy listening.
Based on these things, I developed a new NP practice survival guide based on my own experiences. And I want to switch gears a little bit and dive a bit deeper into RVUs. When I was in school, I follow a couple of blogs, NP blogs that I still follow, and they talked about RVUs and blah, 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 and this and that, and I had no clue what they were talking about. So I did research. That's just the way that I am. I don't recall, maybe we did briefly touch on it during school, but I took it upon myself to understand, what are you talking about, RVUs? And so that stands for relative value unit. And in my mind, RVUs are kind of like points that are assigned to medical visits and procedures. So instead of your employer saying you saw 22 patients today, they might say you generated 35 RVUs today. And what does that mean? So it's how healthcare measures how much work you did. And it also is tied to how the physician is reimbursed for the work that you did, right? How insurance pays out. So every visit has a point value. So a simple sore throat visit is fewer points, whereas more complex visits like diabetes management or hypertension management, medication adjustments, those things are worth more points. And some employers have a minimum RVU value that you must generate during your time working with them. And some employers do give bonuses when you exceed that expectation. So the more complex the visit, the more RVUs you earn. And in the new NP Practice Survival Guide, I go into depth about how that works and how RVUs work and how insurance pays and all that stuff. So I hope that that guide is included in the description bar below, and I hope you find value in it if you decide to take advantage of that. So let's switch gears from RVUs to our fifth thing that NP school doesn't teach you, and that it doesn't teach you that you will need business awareness even if you're employed, right? Because they don't teach you about contract negotiation and non-compete clauses, malpractice tail coverage, and things like that. I don't know how your program was, but mine didn't really talk about salary and so much salary models, right? You have some that are base pay only, you have some that are base plus RVU, and then you have some that are strictly based on productivity, how many RVUs you generate, like straight salary. Even if you never open a practice of your own, these factors can still affect your income, your schedule, your level of autonomy, and also your risk exposure. So before you sign any contract to begin employment with a company, you want to know who's going to pay tail coverage insurance if they have the type of insurance that requires tail coverage. And the NP guide, survival practice survival guide, goes deeper into that to help you understand what that means. Before signing the contract, you also want to know what your productivity expectation is going to be, how many patients you're expected to see per day, how many RVUs you are expected to generate, because that's their revenue. So they do look at RVU and patient complexity, visit complexity, the low complexity visits versus moderate or high severity. And then you also want to know what type of support staff you're going to have. Like how many MAs are on staff? Do they have front office? Is the MA covering the front desk and also being your assistant? Because sometimes those expectations don't measure up to the level of staff that is available. So kind of, have that in the back of your mind before signing contracts. And in the new NP Practice Survival Guide, I have contract negotiation templates that will help you go through each offer that you receive and see if it's even worthwhile for you. And it's a really helpful tool. So again, that's included in the description box below. If you're unable to take advantage of that Practice Survival Guide, I'm going to give you a few quick bonus survival mindset tips that you want to develop. Know that you will feel imposter syndrome, okay? Even though I've had my business for 5 years now, I've been practicing independently as an RN, seeing clients independently. I have standard operating procedures. I've been able to run and sustain a business for 5 years. When I became a nurse practitioner and am seeing patients from the provider standpoint, imposter syndrome still developed. I'm like, this is nothing new to me. Like, I've been seeing people and patients, but the difference is now they're depending on me as a provider. It's different being a massage or lymphatic provider. I don't know what the switch is, but maybe that's just me. But I wasn't diagnosing or prescribing people in my business. So those liabilities and those responsibilities are new. And so I take it very seriously. And I run my business like JCO will walk in at any moment. The Joint Commission is going to come through the door. So everything is buttoned up just like it is in a healthcare facility that you would go into. So that's why I do it that way. But in terms of imposter syndrome, just go ahead and expect that it's going to happen so that it doesn't catch you off guard. And maybe, some people won't experience it, but it is very common among new grad NPs, new nurses, people that are in new settings. It's not just relevant to us as nurse practitioners, because to be honest, my collaborating physician is in her second year out of residency. She's a second year independently practicing physician, and she too experienced imposter syndrome in that first year of being an independent doctor. So, it's just something that happens. Also, another survival mindset tip is to reach out to your mentors and colleagues. It is okay to reach out to people and to have a community that's safe, that you can talk to about things that you have questions about. It is okay to have questions. It's better to speak with people than to just assume or go out there and do things that could be harmful. My collaborating physician is one of my main mentors. She's a mentor to me. She's younger than me, but she's a physician, so she knows a little bit more than I do, and I'm okay with that. So when I have questions about things, that's who I talk to. And if she's unavailable at the moment, she's very available. But if by chance I need a question answered right away, I'm going to look up my resources, right? That's another practice mindset to develop. And the reason why it's good to have mentors and people that are in practice is because every patient is not going to match what you learned in a textbook, right? So, and having a community is not a weakness. It is how you practice safely, right? And understand that confidence comes with repetition. So in my clinic, I am comfortable seeing people to do lymphatic drainage, to do things like that, body contouring when I was doing that. Thankfully, I've replaced myself in those areas. But confidence comes from repetition. It does not come from graduation. You're not going to graduate and know everything. We're never going to know everything, actually. So keep those resources handy, the up-to-date, the Hippocrates, the things that you're using in nursing school or that you used in nursing school when you were there. Those resources are used in real life. That's one of the great things about nursing school. Our MP programs do introduce us to a lot of these tools and the things that providers are using, but they don't go into depth about some of the things that I talked about. So I hope this information has been helpful. So to recap on our 4 points, number 1, you are the final clinical decision maker. Number 2, documentation is legal protection. It's not just a note. Number 3, boundaries will protect your license. Number 4, productivity pressure is real. And number 5, you need business awareness, even if you're employed.
And that wraps up our episode for today. I hope you found it valuable in some way. Again, I'm your host, Suni B, and I will chat with you all on the next one.